Hey, what's up, everybody? And this is my 2024 movie tier list video of movies that I've seen in 2024. There's gonna be some bad. There's gonna be some good. I'm not gonna talk too much about the movies because this isn't like reviews. This is just a straight up movie ranking. I know it's 2025 now, but I didn't have enough time to actually put the movie ranking within 2024 because I had a lot going on. But I'm here now. This is going to be the ranking, and yeah. So anyway, let's just get right into it. So starting up with number 24, Joker 2. Oh my god. What is there to say about this movie? It's awful. It's dog shit. And I don't recommend any of you guys to see it. It's just not good. It's so bad. In fact, when I was at the theaters, I was with my dad and my brother, and it was me. My brother actually fell asleep during the movie, which, props to him. Usually he falls asleep at a lot of movies, and usually I'll wake him up, but I did not wake him up for this movie. Because my brother has a hard time paying attention when it's movies that he just doesn't like. But usually he doesn't like a whole lot, but this is one that I don't even blame him for not really paying attention to or liking at all. Because this movie was dog shit, and that's why it's the lowest on the list, and it's just bad. It's just not good at all. Acting wasn't bad. That's what it is. But the story sucks. I still think that these Joker movies should not have been made. I think they're just dumb. I mean, the first one was okay, cool, whatever. But it's just they're pointless movies. They're really pointless, and this movie just felt like a really big fuck you to the DC fans and whatnot. And the fact that it was a musical is just ridiculous. Like, really, it didn't have to be a musical, but it was, and it was just not good. So, yeah, Joker 2, way bottom of the list. Not watching again, not worth the money. Don't even buy it on, on anything. It's just not worth it. It's a absolutely horrible movie. Now for number 23, that is, of course, Winnie the Pooh 2, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Now, the reason this is above Joker is because while Winnie the Pooh 2 is awful and it's bad, like they're bad movies. They're just really bad horror movies. It was at least more enjoyable to watch than Joker 2. Joker 2 was a snooze fest. This movie's also kind of a snooze fest, but it's like one of those like fun bad movies. There's kills here and there. One positive I could give about this movie is that I honestly really do like their designs. I think Tigger's design was pretty cool. Owl's design was pretty cool. Piglet's was cool. Of course, Pooh's is cool. Like, they do have cool designs and everything. It's just where it really lacks is the story. That's pretty much it. Because I feel like the kills are pretty fun and interesting. It's really just the story. If they could just make that story better in some way, maybe they would be pretty successful. Because, you're working with a goofy concept idea. You just need to find a way to make it work. But, that's why it's, number 23. It's still enjoyable, but sort of, but, it's nothing crazy. Moving on to number 22, and of course, that would be The Crow. Now, I got a couple things to say about this one, just like I did with Joker 2. I know, I'm going to keep shitting on Joker 2. It was just so bad. But the thing about The Crow is, I feel like the story isn't terrible. But there's just one problem. Why use Eric Draven and Shelley, two characters we've already had in the past with Brandon Lee? And, I sympathize with the crowd that thinks that this movie shouldn't have been made due to the legacy of Brandon Lee, and I completely agree with that. I feel like the whole Brandon Lee and the Eric Draven story should be left in the past. It was a movie that was made. He died during the movie. Keep that movie. as it is. Keep the legacy. What they should have done is just have these characters be new characters, different characters. Give them different names, because they're not Eric, Draven, and Chili. They are just not those characters. They really aren't. They should have just been their own characters. Give them the Crow-like sort of thing, because I mean clearly one positive I do think is like some of the action was kind of cool, and the fact that they really showed like the actual afterlife area that all the people who go to become like the Crow and everything like that. I like that. But what they should have done is just have them be their own characters, and maybe have like a small little glimpse of a cameo from the whole Brandon Lee, Eric Draven thing. I think it would be fine. Maybe a little bit better with the story here and there. But at the end of the day, I think it would have been a lot better off if it just did that. And maybe it wouldn't be so low on my list, but yeah, that's why the Crow is pretty much in this spot. I mean, it's just meh. It's a meh movie, and that's kind of the worst you can be when you're a movie. Now, moving into number 21. Yeah, it's probably gonna be no surprise. It's Kraven. This movie was just dog shit. I'm tired of Sony making these Spider-Man spin-offs. I really am. The Venom movies were, those were, a guilty pleasure movie. They were kind of entertaining. But these Kraven it's just so bad. I skipped Madam Web because that's like one of the two movies I have not watched this year. The other one being the Bob Marley movie, but I still want to watch that. But it's just so bad. Like, it's boring. I could barely even pay attention to it. And it's just not one of those movies that Sony's making just to keep the Spider-Man IP. They should just give it back to Marvel, because whatever they're doing with these movies is just downright awful. And they just take away from the character, and just does not feel like the character of Kraven. And I honestly think the Rhino was kind of cool, but I still feel like that could have been done a lot better. I feel like the Chameleon should have been a little bit more in it. And yes, this list is going to contain slight spoilers for certain movies. But I generally, like, it's just not good. That's all. It's just not good. Don't waste your money. Moving on to number 20, and that is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Honestly, I enjoyed the movie. It just has one like fault with it, or two. I feel like there's a lot of storylines that are going on, and on top of that, I just felt like the villain was just very underutilized. He has a really cool design too, by the way. But I just feel like like the main villain was just a little bit underutilized, and I feel like that just could have been used a little bit better. I still really do like the cast and whatnot. It was an enjoyable movie to an extent, but I just feel like things could have been done just a little bit better. Now, as for number 19, it's a Jack Black movie, and that movie is Dear Santa. Now, these next two are going to be Christmas movies. I put them next to each other because really, they were enjoyable, but they were just kind of, felt like cash grabs. But Dear Santa, it's interesting. It's a little goofy because, of course, Jack Black's in it. Say what you want about Jack Black during, this current hemisphere of political bullshit. But, it was kind of a fun little goofy movie. It was weird. It was goofy. It's like a kid's movie. So, there's really not much I can really knock on it for. Even though I think there's far better kids movies out there. Sonic 3. But, Dear Santa was not a bad movie. It's definitely worth just popping on and just kind of sitting down and just to have another movie to watch. It's not terrible, but, it was enjoyable. Now for number 18. It's RedOne. Again, the other Christmas movie that released this year. And with big names on the budget, or big names on the movie, Yeah, speaking of budget, this movie costed 50 million to make, I believe, was the accurate, budget for this movie. And come to find out that 50 million of that budget was paid to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, I have my own issues with The Rock. Obviously, him trying to strong arm the DC universe and this and that, and that whole Black Adam like fiasco, like that really goofy Black Adam stuff that had happened. Also, sorry if my camera on my phone likes to tweak out and like get crooked or whatever, or different angles. Because my setup's like weird. I have a weird setup. It's good for toy reviews, but it's really not good for this kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah, this movie was just, another, The Rock movie playing The Rock, and then you got a couple other names in there. Like, you got J.K. Simmons as Santa, and you got Chris Evans as some mercenary guy. Now, again, it's supposed to be another kid's movie. Story doesn't make sense in some areas. Like, certain, like, character beats don't really make much sense or, like, really play off in the ways that they probably should. And again, it's just another The Rock movie. Him, just being The Rock, pretty much. Having a character that doesn't really have a whole lot of, emotional grasp to it. But overall, I mean, it was enjoyable, I guess. Story's a little bit but it's not terrible. And for number 17, that is, of course, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, I love the Planet of the Apes movies, especially, like the current day ones with Caesar and all that. I think those movies are amazing. I think they're entertaining. I think they're really fun. But this one, I don't know. It just, having Caesar not be there, I know it sucks, but it's for the story, and I think he died very peacefully, and I think his story was, done quite well. But it's like, it doesn't follow Caesar's, children, this and that, and I'm pretty sure they're still alive. At least if I'm mistaken, I don't know. I probably have to go back and rewatch those Planet of the Apes movies, but it's just, like, years go by, and it's like everyone forgot about Caesar. I mean, wouldn't that be something they would, like, talk about between each other? Like, hey, Caesar was the one who, like, gave this to us and had us, that's why we have our civilizations today. And yeah, it's just, there's some things that just don't make too much sense, but overall, I kind of liked it to an extent, not as much as I liked the other ones. And I think the villain, what was his name? Was it Broxus or something? It was something. Because it was a while when I watched this movie. But I mean, he was cool. Like, his like group was like cool with like the armor and all that. Like, I think it was kind of cool. Him dying with his death was kind of cool and deserved. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I wish we could have seen just a little bit more, and maybe explored just a little bit more of like how the world was during this time, because everything had changed like for a long time, for the apes and stuff like that. I just wish we could have seen a little bit more. This is one of those movies that just suffers from not showing too much. I feel like it should just have just a little bit more. And moving on to number 16, and that of course is Heretic. Now, Heretic was an interesting concept. I remember watching the trailer and thinking, wow, that's interesting. I love when religion gets challenged and this and that. But I don't know. I just feel like I was expecting a little bit more with it, and it just felt like it kind of fell flat just a little bit. It was kind of entertaining. I still like some of the things that were done in the movie itself, but I just feel like I just really feel like there should have been a little bit more, and just, I don't know. I feel like it should have just focus a lot on the maze aspect of it, rather than, you know, just this whole questionnaire kind of thing. And it was a little bit confusing at times, even though, like, I could understand what was going on. It was just confusing to an extent when it came to, you know, what the guy was even talking about. It's like, it almost feels like in the writer's room, they were just making it up as they went. It was kind of an entertaining movie. I just felt like I was, you know, expecting a little bit more. And as for number 15, that of course is Venom 3. Now, the reason Venom is this high up is because, you know, all the movies below Venom here, while a lot of them were bad, and, you know, were not too much, were you know, enjoyable but had some small issues. I love Spider-Man. Like, and I think Venom is, like, those movies are really entertaining. Like, this movie has things that I both enjoy and don't enjoy. A lot more that I don't enjoy. Like, I love seeing Tom Hardy and Venom interact with each other. I think they're very good. It's a very good buddy, like a good buddy, you know, thing. They're buddy films. That's just pretty much what they have become. And, you know, like, it's cool seeing the symbiote do what it does. I think all the other symbiotes in the movie, too, were kind of cool. But let's talk about the things that I wasn't too fond of. The xenophage things being basically the villain in the whole movie, I think that's stupid. There should have been just a straight-up villain, whether it's Null or not, or something. And Null is in this movie, but he's like in a backseat villain. He's like the Palpatine of this Venom universe they were trying to do. Or like this like Thanos level thing they were trying to do, which is cool and all. But I know it's just gonna probably add up to something that's just not really that interesting, or is not executed that well at all. And it just feels like, you know, there's just not enough of Null. I wish there was a little bit more of Null. And there's just not, I don't know, the story is just kind of all over the place. Another thing that I just really wanted to also talk about was the fact that Toxin wasn't in this movie, which makes no sense at all. You have Patrick Mulligan, and in the movie they explain his last symbiote left him for dead. Toxin in the comics never did that. I don't know what's up with Sony and, like, screwing these characters up or what, but Toxin never did that. So we don't have Toxin in this movie. He has some random symbiote, and we probably won't ever get Toxin. Because you want to know why? Toxin's probably dead now, because he has no host, so he's probably dead. And the worst part is that Patrick Mulligan is also dead, so we won't get Toxin ever. So you just completely, thanks a lot, Sony, you just completely erased one character from ever happening, and he's not even on the screen either, so you erased him twice. He's not happening, and he's not in the movie. So guess what that means? Fuck you, Sony. But I don't know, it really wasn't that enjoyable movie. I watched it twice just to see if maybe I would like it a second time. I just didn't. But the only reason it's this higher up on this list is just because, you know, Venom is still an enjoyable character to see on screen for the most part. And, you know, it just, I don't know. It's a very confusing movie it's a whole lot better than Kraven. Trust me on that one, it's a whole lot better. This movie was just a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a lot more. But, you know, at least, like, the popcorn buckets were cool. Because, you know, I got the Regal Venom here. Actually, no, this is the AMC one, I believe. I don't know. But I do have this, you know, open Venom popcorn bucket here. And then, of course, I got a second one to make Carnage. So I got little tenders on them and stuff like that. And I'm taking this moment to actually show off the popcorn buckets, too. But, yeah, I made this one into Carnage. There. Came out pretty decent. And then, you know, of course, they also had at Cinemark, they had the regular Venom head. So I got that regular Venom head. And, you know, I had to get one to make Carnage. So got that, too, to make Carnage, because honestly I really did like the Carnage design for Venom 2. It was pretty cool and inventive, and you know, it was something different. But you know, the movie sucked, but you know, at least there was cool popcorn buckets. Now moving on to number 14, that of course is Maxine. Now this is part of the, what I'm going to call the Pearlverse, because you had Pearl, then you had X, and then now you have Maxine. Maxine's a carryover final girl from the movie X. This was an interesting movie. I mean, it was kind of entertaining. It just felt like it didn't really add too much new. And I think that the you know, the overall, you know, villain mastermind, they called him the Night Stalker, which was strange, because when I was thinking Night Stalker the whole time, I was thinking about Richard Ramirez, like the actual physical serial killer Night Stalker, and I was thinking, oh, they're gonna like try and bring in real world things, you know, during, you know, because like it's like around, I believe it was around the same time period, this and that, but then they didn't do that, and it's just like some weird cult thing. I didn't really understand. Like, it's like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make much sense. Very strange. Very strange. But, you know, it's a horror movie. Kills were interesting enough, at least. But that's as much as I can really say about Maxine. Not terrible. Now, as for number 13, that, of course, is Godzilla X Kong. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, did not like the villain. I thought he was a bit boring. I feel like maybe it should have been a little bit like a different villain. It's just another big monkey. It's just another big monkey. And you know, while I like you know, monkeys and apes and stuff like that, they're one of my favorite animals. It's just, you know, just didn't really seem that much of a threat. And you guys can disagree with me, but I just would have liked maybe to see another Godzilla villain, because, you know, you had the first Godzilla, it was like their own created monster thing, which was cool. I mean, it's cool to have like something new created every now and then. And then you had Kong Skull Island, which I believe those were its own created villains, the what were they called, the Skull Crawlers or something. Those were cool. I enjoyed those. Then you have Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which was absolutely fantastic. Ghidorah, Mothra, and then you had, of course, Rodan. Beautiful. Then you had Godzilla vs. Kong, which had Mecha Godzilla, which, you know, I thought was pretty cool. I honestly thought they were going to use Ghidorah's brain for a Mecha Ghidorah, which I think honestly would have been a little bit cooler. But I still really did like the Mecha Godzilla in that one. And then you have this movie, which doesn't have any other, like, you know, Godzilla-centered villains. It just has, like, this random monkey from the, what was it called? Did they call it, like, the Middle Earth or something like that? But I don't know. It was a little bit of a boring villain. There were some cool scenes. I'll give it that. There was a lot of cool scenes. You had Godzilla fighting, you know, Skilla, that, like, spider monster. So it was pretty interesting there. There's some cool things about this movie. Overall, it was pretty entertaining. There was interesting stuff. But I just feel like the villain was just a little bit boring. I feel like there could have been a bit of a better villain maybe picked, like maybe like Space Godzilla or something else. But it's not terrible. It was still pretty enjoyable. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see Godzilla on screen. I mean, you know, if Godzilla wasn't in it, it'd probably be like, meh. But you know, Godzilla's in it. He's cool. Not a horrible movie, but definitely, you know, just wish there was, you know, a little different stuff. And as for number 12, that of course is Smile 2. Now, I think the story to this was pretty interesting. I overall really did love this movie. There's a lot of cool things that they do, horror-wise, in this movie. There's a lot of cool scenes that they do. I really do, and I think it's a good follow-up. Well, let me just say it. I think it's a good follow-up to the first Smile movie. And there's really only one thing that I can really say that I wish was done differently in this. I kind of wish that obviously, the main character in the movie kind of made it out in the end and got rid of the whole virus thing or curse. I feel like it would have been an interesting turn, but maybe they're saving that for the third movie, because I know a third movie just got greenlit. Gotta have that franchise. But overall, it was a pretty fun, enjoyable movie. And I'm kind of interested to see where it's going to go from here, since the whole curse now was just shown in front of like 100+ people. So all the 100+ people have this curse right now. So I don't even know how crazy the third movie is going to get. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think it was interesting. I think it was fun. And it was a good movie. And in like some points, it really did show like how crazy fans can get over their celebrity, over their favorite celebrities. But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It was pretty enjoyable. Now, as for number 11, that of course is The Apprentice, the Donald Trump biopic movie. Now, say what you want about Donald Trump and this and that. You have the right to your own opinion, even if your opinion is not good or is stupid. But I think this movie was pretty enjoyable. Whether the events are true or not true, or are loosely based on true events and this and that, I think Sebastian Stan does a phenomenal job. I think everybody in their respective roles did a pretty phenomenal job, and it was an entertaining movie. I liked it. I love all the different scenes and stuff, and how the story led up and all this stuff. It was interesting. It was interesting to see, because it's one thing hearing it, it's another thing seeing it. But overall, I think it was a pretty entertaining and interesting movie. As for number 10, that of course is Alien Romulus. Now, it's a movie that I'm really happy that horror is brought back into the Alien franchise. But I had only had one gripe with it. I just wish there was more of the actual xenomorphs and aliens themselves. I understand the whole less is more thing when it comes to certain horror movies, but I just would have liked a little bit more. But overall, it was pretty enjoyable. I think the cast was pretty good. The story was pretty good. The kills were pretty cool. And it was overall a pretty solid Alien movie. Now, as for number 9, that of course is Beetlejuice. Now, I love Tim Burton. I really do. This movie was pretty fun. I absolutely did love it. It was a pretty solid movie. I think the music was pretty good. I understand how some people think that, and feel that there's a lot of different stories going on at once, which I can definitely see. But overall, it was a pretty enjoyable movie, and of course, Michael Keaton does really good in the role that he is given. And it was a pretty solid Tim Burton film. But yeah, not terrible. Now, as for number 8, that of course is A Quiet Place Day One. This movie, again, another pretty solid movie. I believe it's the third installment in the Quiet Place franchise. I really do like the Quiet Place franchise. I love the idea of the aliens and stuff like that, and I did always kind of want to know, like, and see, what happened, like, when it all first started. And getting this movie and having it take place in New York was a pretty cool idea. It was just cool to see them all around and everything, and what happened and all this and that. And I think it was pretty interesting. The only thing I didn't really like so much was like the girl with the cat. I felt like she was a little bit unlikable to an extent. And the whole cat was just like stupid to me. But overall, it was pretty enjoyable. As for number 7, the next it's Mr. Crockett, but the next this movie and the next two movies are going to be three surprising horror movies that really surprised me, because they were movies that I just either put on or I was already planning on watching, but I thought I was going to hate. And they're all creature features, technically. Mr. Crockett is a really fun and interesting movie. Like, it's an interesting spin on a horror movie. They do a lot of interesting things. One character surprises you to be out as somebody else and this and that. So that was like really interesting. I love how it plays upon the ideas of child abuse and this and that, and how susceptible it is for someone who is abused to immediately follow the lead of somebody else who promises to protect them and this and that. It was a really interestingly done movie, and I love the creative ideas in it. I think it's an absolutely amazing, it's just such a cool idea for a movie. And you don't get much cool ideas for movies that much anymore. And I think you have like a very sympathetic, I'll call it a killer. You have a very sympathetic killer in this movie. Some of the kills are really inventive and cool. It's just overall a good movie, and I highly recommend it. It's a Hulu original, and I absolutely highly recommend it. You have to see this movie. It's just really interesting to watch, and I definitely think it deserves to get praise, because it's a really interestingly done horror movie, and there's not a whole lot of interesting horror movies out nowadays. But overall, Mr. Crockett's a pretty good movie. As for number 6, that of course is Sting. Now this movie is really interesting because I love creature features. Then this one's about a giant space spider that grows really huge, and it takes place inside an apartment building. And I think you can do a lot with that confined space, and I think they did do quite a lot with that confined space. And you have an interesting group of characters too. It's just a really interesting, fun little spider horror movie, and I think it's done really well. Definitely worth a watch. I absolutely loved it, and it's just a very, 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 very cool spider movie. If anyone of you guys grew up watching the Eight-Legged Freaks movie or any giant spider horror movie, you're definitely gonna like this one. As for the top 5, number 5 here is going to be The Watchers. Now, this movie was one that really surprised me, but I had been anticipating to watch it because the trailers the way the trailers showed the movie and everything like that, it was very secretive, and I love when trailers do that because it makes me want to watch the movie. Now, Watchers is a creature feature, of course, and it's about these fairies. I know it sounds stupid, but it's about these ancient fairies where fairies and humans lived together, this and that, a long time ago, but then they betray each other, this and that. But it's just they do a lot of interesting stuff with these things. These fairies can shapeshift and this and that. It almost feels like skinwalkers, and these people are trapped within this box and in the woods, and they can't leave at night because the watcher fairy people like to watch them in the box and see what they do, and this it's really interesting, and there's a really cool plot twist at the end and this and that I will not spoil at all. It's just super interesting. It's really, really interesting, and it's subverts certain expectations for certain things, and I really do enjoy it. I think it was a really good, really, really good movie. Has a lot going for it, and it'd be cool to see a sequel somehow. But yeah, it was a really good movie. As for number 4, that of course is going to be Terrifier 3. Now, Terrifier 3, if you didn't like the first 2, you're probably not going to like this one. As if you're squeamish. I'm not squeamish. I love blood. I love guts. I love when body parts are getting flung everywhere and torn around. And this movie was really fun. I love how Damien Leone is, kind of adding bits and pieces of the story in each movie to really, because it's not like you're getting everything in one movie, which I like. I like when one movie comes out and I get to learn each movie of what's going on, this and that. It's just really interesting. And to keep it from not being boring and just waiting to hear every new piece of evidence, they have such creative and just out of their kills, really gory kills, that just, and I've said it before to people too, the Terrifier franchise does what horror movies nowadays should be doing. Horror movies should be scary. They should be gory. Horror movies nowadays just feel like, you know, you're given a cupcake with a little bit of blood on it. That's it. But Terrifier is like, here's a whole morgue, here's this, here's that. It gives you like the most goriest of gore, and it is perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the Christmas theme absolutely fits. Kills are amazing. Story is really interesting. I love how they get biblical with it. They throw in like religion and stuff like that to kind of explain certain things, which I absolutely love. But yeah, Terrifier 3, probably one of the best movies of the year. Now on to the top 3 movies this year. Number 3, of course, is Transformers 1. I think that this is an absolutely perfect showing of the story between Optimus Prime and Megatron. The fall of Megatron that you get to see throughout this movie, absolutely perfect. Love that part when he rips Sentinel in half. And then seeing Optimus Prime, you know, grow into the leader he's supposed to become, absolutely perfect. I think the cast is perfect. Bumblebee might be a little annoying to some people, but it's a kid's movie. But I think he was pretty funny. Scarlett Johansson as Elita 1, absolutely perfect. Chris Hemsworth, which I was very surprised about, as the voice of Optimus Prime, perfect job. And then the other guy, I forgot the actor's name, but he voices Megatron in the movie. Beautifully done. I did not think he was going to do that great of a job. I thought it was going to be like a, it's okay. But he did a really good job. And then those parts where he was like doing like the yelling parts for Megatron, where he actually felt like Megatron. It almost felt very Frank Welker-ish, which, you know, perfect for Megatron. It was a beautiful movie. I absolutely loved it. I loved every second of it. And I've watched it about twice, maybe 3 times now. I love it every time. It's a really good movie. And I highly recommend you guys watch it. Now, as for the top 2 movies, I did not know where to place any of these movies. I didn't know which one to place on top of the other, because both of them are just so good. They're the best movies this year. But due to recency and, you know, how much I love both of these characters and this and that, number 2 has to go to, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine was a very enjoyable movie. Of course, it's Deadpool. It's Deadpool. That's all I really gotta say to just emphasize how good this movie was. The jokes are funny. It's a Deadpool movie. They're always gonna be funny. Deadpool is just such a funny character. The story, I think, was pretty cool. I liked all the cameos and this and that. I think they did a really good job of making it feel a lot like a Deadpool movie rather than just shoehorning Deadpool into the MCU and giving him his MCU film. I feel like it was a very good. It just felt like a Deadpool movie. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, of course, does a phenomenal job. He's always going to be Wolverine till he's 90. But yeah, it was a pretty good movie. The villain was just kind of ass sometimes. They didn't like physically fight her to kill her, this and that. But overall, it was an absolutely perfect 10 out of 10 movie for me. But another movie just beat it. Just for a couple things. And that brings us to number 1, which, of course, by no surprise, I've been glazing it this whole month, or this whole, pretty much past month. And that, of course, is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now, there's not much I gotta say left about Sonic 3, because I've said it a lot, so I'll just keep it super sweet and simple. Everybody, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, they're just enhanced and better in this movie, and they grow as characters. They're absolutely perfect. Dr. Eggman and Jill Robotnik, perfect characters. Shadow, highlight of the movie. Shadow's my favorite character. As you can see, I have a poster of him in the back now, and everything. Absolutely fucking love this movie. I am also getting the movie theater Shadow Cup with the Shadow figure as the topper on the cup in the mail this Saturday. So cannot wait to have that and add that to the collection. I absolutely love the portrayal of Shadow in this movie, and Keanu Reeves does an absolutely phenomenal job. Absolutely perfect. Props to him. Everybody does a perfect job in their roles. It's an entertaining as hell movie. Very fun. Definitely worth the money. Please, I urge you, everybody, go support this movie so this movie can beat Mufasa. Fuck Mid-Fasa. Fuck Disney. Go support Sonic 3. Support this movie. This movie is absolutely phenomenally good. You will have a perfect time. An absolutely good, perfect time watching this movie. It is entertaining. It's fun. Funny, a little bit iffy. The story is absolutely just perfect. The visuals are perfect. Fight scenes are perfect. It's just an overall really well done movie, and it deserves its #1 spot on my personal list. Again, any of these can change, but number 2 and number 1 are staying as is. Oh, and number 3. Number 2, 1, and 3 can switch out at any time. Could maybe be interchanged at any time, and any of the other ones could probably be switched out at any time. But these are the definitive 3 movies of this year. And that is pretty much my movie ranking of 2024. If you agree with my list, cool. If you disagree with it, cool. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. This is just my list of the movies that I personally saw this year and decided to give my money to this year. But that is pretty much it for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow my socials, the Insta, and the TikTok, where I post all my other action figure stuff and everything at. And I do commissions for custom figures too, so follow the Insta. Take a look at, some of my... Ooh, my bad. Take a look at some of the customs I have and everything like that. I can do commissions. I do commissions. But that's it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow the socials again. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.